ducked off, working on music, you gotta be exhausted. And I be like, nah, I'm really feeling tan fresco, you feel me? That means so fresh in Spanish if you didn't know. Big dog tryna get at my weight, so move and get out my way. My way. And I ain't write the song Paper Planes, but I really been MIA. My ex said I was seasoned with the rapping, but I don't care about Obey. Don't even worry about it, God got it, so really what a hater gon' say. Now I ain't tryna start nothing, look what we done. I really wasn't tryna flex, this ain't one-on-one. I know it ain't all love and the hate gon' come. They say we looking like a lick, I say watch your tongue. Jesse on the bass, I'm like, oh, it's lit. You reap what you sow when I know my stitch. I felt so out of place as a jit, I'll admit, but it worked out. Now I see just how to CrossFit. Let's do it, flow stupid. One-sided, it's a blowout, the air humid. Man, I said I had the juice to try to dilute it, but when you know you got it, everything's fluid. Add a little razzle on it, few sprinkle. Ain't the average Joe mixing, no bingo. I'm looking for a home run, new single. Speak English and I talk money, I'm bilingual. Big shot, big bet, I won't even break a sweat. This really got me feeling tan fresco. Let my hair swing, still reppin' Jesus gang. If you rollin' with a homie, then let's go. Still gotta be a quarterbackin' in the field, and you know we get it stopping like Bledsoe. Always down to ride, got my dogs right beside, so we turn the whole bit into a Pecco. Let's take a trip, come and ride with me. Gotta set the tone right, it's the vibe for me. Yeah, load is good all the time, and I would agree. Like a sippin' paint, you gotta taste and see. I mean, we living in the 21st century. It's the USA today, that ain't news to me. And we're all of his children, well, obviously. So if God is the truth, I got it honestly. Take off. You know we been forgiven. MTV Chris, come see how we living. Feeling incomplete, I can tell you what's missing. Gotta keep it real in my hook, going fishing. But I'm still that Mr. Get Jiggy, also known as Mr. I'm Too Witty. You know that I ride for my dogs in a jiffy. Bad boy after 97, no biggie. Smart Alec, you going outside. Well, first, tell me who's Alec, I'm Chaz. To me, when you got a crisscross, that's plaid. Might as well call me too because I'm about to act bad. I'm on one, and then some. When you have God, you fear none. Might lose or win some. San Fran, it ain't pretty, but it gets done. Big shot, big bet, I wouldn't even break a sweat. Cause really got me feeling tan fresco. Let my hair swing, still reppin' Jesus gang. If you rollin' with a homie, then let's go. Still gotta be a quarterbackin' in the field, and you know we get it snapping like Bledsoe. Always down the ride, got my dogs right beside, so we turn the whole bit into a Pecco.
What's happening? What's happening? Let's wake it up. Real early in the morning. You dig? Man, I appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate y'all so much. Welcome to Mint Street Monday. I am finally back. It's been too long. I missed y'all, man. Look, my man already, Jarrell Mason hit me with the $10 super chat to start it off. Appreciate you, brother. Man, says, I think Seattle winning the Super Bowl may be in Navarro's favor to land a head coaching gig next cycle if he makes another leap of improvement with the defense. Happy for Darnold to get the ring. I could not agree more, and I could not have been more wrong because I was the one that told you guys that Ejiro Evero would indeed get a job, and he did not. He did not. And honestly, I don't think it was like any kind of like bias or, nothing like that. I really think it was just, this was kind of the first year. I mean, yeah, the record, the playoffs, getting to be seen on a bigger stage is extremely important. But, this was like the first opportunity he had to really showcase what, because we had more primetime opportunities for him to be seen. So that was really important. But either way, man, good morning to y'all. I appreciate you guys. Big Time Driver, good morning. Says XL told his truth, taking a jab at the coach. We'll talk about it. My man Doug, shout out to Doug. Newly married man, good morning to you, sir. Good morning, Nicole Ivory, moderator in the chat. We appreciate you. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe button, bell notification so you don't miss a video. Also, if you are not a member of the OCs, the original cats, shout out to my original cats. I know I have left you guys and have not talked to you guys in a minute, but if you want to join, $1.99 per month to join the original cats membership to support the channel, and we appreciate that. So much. Appreciate that so much. But let's talk. So yeah, Nervash said 10 openings and he could not get one. No, he could not. And I'm gonna tell you, it's really a respect thing. It's a respect thing. I talked about this yesterday. Hold on. Good morning from Arizona. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a respect thing. Here's part of that respect. I ran across this yesterday. Power rankings. 24th. That's how they see us. Yesterday, I posted on X. I'll pull this up in a little bit. There was a clip of, or the lower third. I don't know if you're familiar with TV and how that works. This is the lower third. I'll pull mine up for the first one, right? So that's the lower third. I'll move this out of the way so you can see it. On the lower third for the NFL pregame show on ESPN, they had the Hall of Fame class of 2026, and there were 4 people on there. Well, y'all know there were 5 people that made it, right? They had Fitz, they had, Adam Vinatieri, they had Drew Brees, and they had Larry Fitzgerald. But somebody was missing, and that somebody was Luke Kuechly. Because like I mentioned before, and I'll say it again, the media arm of the league does not like the Panthers for whatever reason. I do not know why, but they do not like us. And that's okay, because that's why you have independent creators, and you have your locals, your local reporters. I saw people like Sheena and Vashti putting on out, during Super Bowl week. Salute to them. But yeah, I see at least 3 teams on here that we beat, and we're coming in the year at 24. We played the team that's ranked number 2 so tough that if we stop them on that last series, we move on to the divisional round. But we're 24. Hopefully we get number 24 back. So maybe this is a sign of that, right? Strong. But yeah, split with Tampa, swept Atlanta, beat Green Bay, in Green Bay, mind you, and beat the Rams, and almost beat them twice. And somehow we come in ranked at number 24. Oh, and Dallas. Forgot about that. Now, granted, we did get swept by New Orleans, and maybe that's what took us down, right? But still, this is far too low. My personal opinion, I don't think we should be any lower than 16. That's me. You could argue 14, but I understand that the optics of the San Francisco game on Monday night, it was bad. It was bad. But, yeah, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. But regardless, we are where we are. That said, I want to talk about what we saw last night. This Super Bowl, man, was interesting. Now, for me, I'll be honest with you. I've said this before. I love defensive matchups. I love a good defensive dogfight, right? Many people don't, and I understand the reason. It's not the most appealing game. People like to see shootouts. I said this and many others that they felt like the Super Bowl was the NFC Championship. And, with all the, back and forth between Darnold and, Matt Stafford, Matt Stafford MVP, you got Puka out there, a lot of star power, right? A lot of star power. That was a better game. New England kind of limped their way in, right? And clearly their offensive line, especially the left side, is going to need some major makeover, right? And I tell you, the Will Campbell thing, I talked about this with a friend last night. Measurables are measurables for a reason. Now, sometimes there's guys that can overcome that, right? For example, Rashawn Slater came in with shorter arms. But Rashawn Slater some guys just develop better. He's a much stronger guy than Campbell, right? Better technique, all of it. So his measurables didn't matter as much, but you can kind of understand it, right? I like a guy in this draft in Jacob Rodriguez, who I'm going to do a video on at some point this week, right? And I argued that at 19, that might be a little bit of a stretch to some people, but it's not too much of a stretch if you know that you know that you know. There's nobody that would know better than the person in the front office, Dan Morgan. He knows it. He's seen it. He is it, right? But the measurables, sometimes the measurables can be, 6'7"-ish, right? Because here's an example. Chad Muma coming out of Wyoming. Now, I understand that the reference is a little bit different as far as the Rodriguez is concerned, because he played at Texas Tech. They had the number 1 run defense. He had 7 forced fumbles, all this great stuff, right? But go look at Chad Muma's stats. Ridiculous coming out of Wyoming. Ridiculous. A lot of people like Chad Muma. Chad Muma, a little bit of an undersized guy, played in Jacksonville for a little bit, ended up leaving. Now, I do know that Chad Muma suffers from something that my wife also suffers from, which is type 1 diabetes. I don't know that makes a huge difference, but it is a thing. But now a special teamer with New England, right? So sometimes these measurables do matter. Sometimes the athletic freak who may need a little bit of honing, Nick Emenworry, who we talked about a lot on this channel last year, you know, and how you deploy them, how you use them, which is very important as well. You bet on the measurables, right? And we've seen that far too often. Sometimes with tweeners, it could be a little bit of a Isaiah Simmons, I would put in that category, right? Jeremy Chin, I would possibly put in that category at this point. But on the offensive line, if you've got shorter arms, it can be a thing. And I'm not saying that was the only thing we saw last night, but the measurables, the strength, the size, the arm length, all that stuff, it plays a part. And we saw that on display last night with Will Campbell. So it looked bad. Drake May was under constant pressure. Now, Seattle did this to a lot of teams, right? But it was bad. It was very bad. But on the other side, Sam Darnold, man, Sam Darnold. Wasn't the best game ever. But I got to tell you, man, there's an affinity I have for people who persevere. I really love redemption stories, like when people get in trouble or, you know, have some setbacks in their lives and things like that. But I also love resiliency. You know, like when Sam, you know, when he was hoisting Lombardi, when he hoisted the NFC Championship trophy, it was the same look. It was that same look. I had posted a meme sometime back in this. I mean, kind of went around. It wasn't just me. But this was Redbeard Sam Darnold, where he first started growing it when he was with us in Carolina, had on the toboggan and the Carhartt jacket, looked like he worked for U-Haul. You know what I'm saying? And it was just kind of an all business approach. And this is after freaking, I want to say this might have been either the game after or the game after this, where they beat Detroit and had 200 plus yards rushing, right? And it was just like old school smash mouth football. And it was interesting just to see his countenance. You know, he mentioned, I'm not a crier. I'm not going to be the guy. See, I'm different. I'm a softie, man. Like my little girls will say stuff to me, or I'll go watch a concert from them and I'm sitting there like, but that's me, right? But I do love people that are resilient, can deal with adversity. Don't worry about, Mike McDonald said, Sam Darnold never cared about what y'all thought about him. And boy, we thought a lot. In this community, we said a lot. And some of that a lot was very fair. It was bad when it was bad. Really bad. It was really good when it was really good. It was very good at the beginning. It was terrible within the middle. And then at the end, it started to kind of turn and take a shift. And to me, that ending was more encouraging than anything I saw at the beginning. Anything that I saw with the 300-yard games or whatever like that at the beginning. The reason the ending was so important to me is because you bought in Baker Mayfield. You drafted Matt Corral. You bought in Cam Newton. And who ended up standing on top of the hill at the end on the 7-10 record, right? Resiliency. I love it. I think we see a lot of that on this team. I think we see a lot of that from our quarterback, right? It is a trait that is important for you to be able to excel to the next level. And now you are hoisting the Lombardi. And people will talk about Sam for the eternity of the NFL, right? Because he'll be, unless it happens again, which, look, people can go out and look for the next, next person this story or next person that story. It only happens a couple of times. When's the last time we seen someone benched in the way that Bryce Young was benched and actually come back and, start for a team in recent memory? It doesn't happen that often, right? We can think Steve Young, but that was a much different situation because it didn't happen in Tampa. It happened when he was in San Francisco, and it actually was a battle. I don't know if you guys have watched the Rise of the 49ers, fascinating documentary, right? But it happened kind of in battle succession. It was a big thing with Bill Walsh in Montana and Steve Young. There was no competition here, right? It was, you're playing awful. We're going to have to bench you and go with a guy that is more proven in Andy Dalton. But a lot can be learned from this Super Bowl. Sam was the first part of that, right? I do want to read a super chat that I just seen come through. Shout out to Raising Kane. I appreciate the super chat. Raising Kane says, hope you're feeling better, bro. As always, love the content. Keep pounding. Yes, I feel much better. I do. I feel much better. Good morning, Miss Douglas. Great to see you. My man, Joe Clarity. Says, how when our defense folded in the fourth against LA? You must be responding to something I said. I'll get to that. Looks like the Panthers are using the Seahawks blueprint, youth, defense, and team culture. We're definitely going to get to that too. Definitely going to get to that too. Because I want to talk about free agency, something else I saw. Inexperience, yes. And I'll talk about that. Not trying to hate or rain on anyone's parade, but it was a snooze fest. The defensive battle was superb. Offensively, I fell asleep for the first time. Go Panthers, keep pounding. Enjoy the cast. I appreciate that, man. Hey, everybody's got an opinion on what they want. Jay Issue, my man. Salute. But yeah, I personally I don't mind the Super Bowl. Like I said, I know that most people don't really like, unless it's your team. People in Seattle love the Super Bowl, right? They want to see their team like dominate. If you play in a Super Bowl, I want to be personally, if I'm a fan of the team, if it's the Panthers, I want to see what happened last year with Philly and Kansas City. I want you to get this done early. I don't want to leave no doubt on the table. I want to see 2000. Man, what year was it that was it 12, 13? The Denver, they were playing that game earlier in the week. The Denver and Seattle Super Bowl, got away from him really quick. Peyton Manning, ball flies over his head, touchdown, safeties. Peyton couldn't do anything in that Super Bowl. Cold weather game in New York. I want to see that. If you're a fan, I don't want it to be close, right? If I'm a fan, that's me personally. Now, when I'm not a fan of the teams, I like to see what I saw in the NFC Championship. It was a dogfight. But I also like a good defensive battle as well. As I mentioned, the biggest thing with this, and this is something that is with Seattle as well, and this should be encouraging, as Willie Smith said, for us. The biggest thing here is that, man, there's not really a lot of superstars out there, right? Stephon Diggs was the biggest star on the field for either team. Sam Darnold's not really a superstar. DeMarcus Lawrence isn't a superstar. Milton Williams, if you want to say he was a big name free agent, but he's not a superstar. This is one of the more lackluster super weeks that I've seen in recent memory. As a matter of fact, a lot of the conversations that happened that weren't the team during Super Week were more interesting than what was happening with the team because it was just so bland, right? Then there's the whole halftime, situation. We'll talk about that a little bit, but not a lot. But the point is that there just wasn't a whole lot of pizzazz to this, right? If Stafford would have made it, there's a storyline there. Does he retire after, and let me just say this too. People love to hate, like the Patriots brand, people hate on, but people like Drake May. I mess with Drake May. I don't like the Patriots at all, but I mess with Drake May. Of course I do. From Charlotte, rep the Panthers, all that, right? Unless we playing them, I mess with them. I like Darnold. Wore the jersey, love the story and all that. There wasn't a lot of hate factor here. Like, Seattle don't really have a lot to make you hate them. So that plays a lot into this as well. But one thing I really love, really love, what's up, Anthony? And shout out to my guy, Twan. Appreciate you, man. One thing that I really love, man, is seeing a team like Seattle that doesn't have, I heard Mina Kimes say this earlier in the week. She said Seattle is not a team that has like a big name superstar on defense. But from a scheme perspective, they do a whole lot of stuff really, really, really good. And that got me excited. It got me really excited. But at the same time, I'll be honest with you, it's an excitement with reluctance. And the reason the reluctance comes is because there are certain things that, and I think Joe Clarity was speaking to this when he was talking about the last drive of us in LA. There's things that I saw yesterday that aren't a part of our defensive scheme. For example, the way that they deploy Nick Emmanwori. I was really big on Nick Emmanwori. I would have loved to have seen him a Panther. Now, I don't know that drafting him at 8 was the move, and I'm glad we made the move that we did. But, when we were doing our mock drafts last year, he was someone that, kind of jumped on the radar. His combine numbers were unbelievable, and sometimes you can get fooled by that, but, sometimes those things matter. And it really just depends on how you use that person, right? Now think, you fast forward, Seattle drafts him, pretty far down the board because they were 10-7 last year, even though they didn't make the playoffs. It just tells you how tough the conference and their division is, right? But they draft him, and you just don't know what are they going to do here? Like, how are they going to deploy him? How are they going to use him, right? And you're seeing him throughout the year lined up at linebacker. Yesterday, lined up as an edge. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're deploying this guy everywhere, and he can do so many different things, and he's a physical freak. My biggest concern and fear, I'm just going to be honest, right? And I'm not trying to take a shot at Avero, but I'm just being real. It's two things. It's twofold. Number one, if Pat Jones doesn't get hurt, do we ever see Nick Scorton stats from this year? Nick Scorton, 5 sacks, bunch of tackles for loss, 34 pressures. Do we get that? So if we're going to draft a rookie that's going to be a world changer, is he going to be used that much, right? Because I do think they're going to try to make some big moves in free agency, and we'll talk about that in a few moments. But is he going to be used much? And if he is used, how's he going to be used, right? Say you grab a guy. There's a guy that I really like in this draft coming up, Keontae Scott. I think that Keontae can be an outside corner. But I think that where you could use him the most, like I loved what I saw yesterday from the, was it Witherspoon, their safety? The one that they kept blitzing. And I mean, he would come down from the strong spot and just boom. And I can see you could do that kind of stuff with Lathan Ransom. You could kind of use Keontae Scott for that. You can use Keontae Scott as a nickel. I know he's an older guy, but he's freaking chaos. You know? The question, though, is do you trust Evero to be the guy to be able to use him in that way? Answer is I don't know. I don't know. Joining me right now is a friend of the show, my compadre, right hand, and the invisible one himself, Brad. Shout out to Brad. What's up, buddy?
How goes it, man?
Did I meet you, Brad? I believe I did.
Did you?
Yeah, you're there. What's up, man?
What's going on, my brother? Salami, eggs, and bacon.
Salami, eggs, and bacon, man. Straight up. So, we'll just start where I was. I mentioned that in this Super Bowl, let's start with Darnold, your favorite guy. Darnold, 5 different spots. I will do this. I'll allow people to have their objective opinions about Sam Darnold. There will be no Sam Darnold slander on my show today. I will say that. So I'm going to go ahead and just set the bar, right? But that being said, I'll allow the objective analysis because Samuel LaQuavius Darnold is going to get his respect on the One Carolina show because Samuel LaQuavius III Darnold won a Super Bowl. And he done it before.
Ginger Cuz.
AKA what?
Ginger Cuz.
Ginger Cuz. That's good.
That's what Beast Mode started calling him. He said, "Oh, Ginger Cuz."
Beast, man. Hey, did you see that commercial? That commercial was fire, bro. At the end, when he was talking about the payback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was gas. But with Sam, obviously 5 different teams. You know, the Jet situation, which if you go back and look, and I did this early when we brought him in, you could see progression with Sam with the Jets. 2 things were the major issue. Number 1, personnel. Number 2, he was young, youngest starting quarterback at that point in league history. You know, you and I went through the history. Sam was a linebacker in college. In high school, got recruited to USC as both a linebacker and a quarterback, right? Only played 2 years at USC, came straight into the league. So he was extremely raw. Probably should have sat, but he didn't. You know, watching that first game from him, he threw a pick 6 and then came out and threw for 300 plus, 3 touchdowns, won a game. I think they played Dallas, if I'm not mistaken, beat Dallas. So you could see that the traits were there. You just had to hone it in. And even now, like, here's what was interesting even now, Brad. He led the league in interceptions this year. Do you know how many interceptions Sam threw in the playoffs? 0. So when it matters most, he can do what needs to be done, right? Now, I think that what Seattle has that's so great and I talked about this, and I see some people in the chat were responding, and I'll get to some of your comments, is that they don't really have like a superstar on that team outside of JSN, really anywhere, right? Kenneth Walker, if you want to say budding, maybe. But like on the defense, if I focus there, there's no superstar player on this defense. But they do a whole lot of things right, and it's schemed to perfection. What were your thoughts on the Super Bowl yesterday, starting with Darnold?
Well, personally, it was like in South Park when they did the voting and they had to vote between a giant douche and a turd sandwich. I don't like Seattle from what we've had to deal with them in the playoffs, regular season, the breakthrough in 2015. I do not like the Patriots since, they were caught taping our walkthrough before the Super Bowl in 2003. And, they're sort of getting some of that small payback for, Belichick and Kraft not getting into the Hall of Fame in their first year. Some people were saying, probably because Spygate and a few other things, it's kind of like a unsaid punishment. But watching the game, though, I mean, it was a lot like last year, just overwhelming defense. What a game by Kenneth Walker. I mean, that kid, I remember him at Michigan State, and he never looked that fast. I mean, the jump cuts, the making players in position look out of position. And, your boy did enough to get him over the hump. He was looking pretty cheeky towards the end of the season and, reluctant. I wouldn't say, because one of my homeboys texted me was like, yeah, he got that Trent Dilfer trophy. I wouldn't say he got the Trent Dilfer. I mean, he wasn't that much of a game manager, but because he definitely balled out in the Rams game. And then yesterday, he did what they needed him to do. He didn't turn the ball over. There were some dropped interceptions, but hey, it only counts. I said, Gonzalez for the Patriots reminded me a lot of Josh Norman in the Super Bowl. I mean, dropping 2 potential big-time interceptions. But yeah, man, I felt like, it was kind of a snooze fest, but I know how much you like, defensive games. So it was just great defense. I would say, Imawari, man, the kid that you just big upped out of South Carolina. I mean, the fact that he dropped to them and the way they used him, it was a lot like the way we use Mayrig, but he just, God, man, that kid was all over the place, man. He played like a linebacker. He played like, Earl Thomas in those, no-fly zone days when it was no fly zone was Denver, my bad. But
Legion. Yeah.
What was their secondary? Legion of Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I mean, the kid, when I seen I was like, man, he's a rookie. And he's doing all of these things. And man, did you watch their offensive line? I mean,
you talking about the Patriots?
Milton Williams.
Yeah.
No, the Seahawks. I mean, Milton Williams, man, like, he had a couple of plays, but
they neutralized
dude, they lived on the, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, they lived on the that 2-3 yards, man, blowing them off the ball. Like, it was just, wow. Great game plan.
Yeah.
Great. And the thing is so crazy, like, their coach was talking about when he was, at Georgia and he was thinking about going and being an accountant. He had done all that. And instead he got with, the opportunity he had in Baltimore. Just like you said, man, well-executed game plan. They looked very well coached. And they've got some decisions to make in the offseason financially, but they went all in, and it paid off for them big time.
It sure did. Shout out to my man Joe Clarity with Super Chat. He said, biggest difference I saw was the Seattle defense ability to swarm the ball and not play soft coverage. They were fierce and aggressive, not sloppy. You know what I find interesting about that? It's a choice. It's not a lack of ability. It's a choice. You know, you make a choice whether or not you've got guys. Lathan Ransom is a guy that you can blitz and send like you sent Witherspoon yesterday, right? And I did see someone argue my point about superstars. Those three guys that you mentioned, I could at least put 2 or 3 guys, maybe even something like Derek Brown. I think Leonard Williams is good, but he ain't better than Derek Brown. I think Ernest Jones is good, but he ain't better than, would you say Ernest Jones is better than Quay Walker or Roquan Smith? No. So I mean, these are all great guys. But again, my argument is not so much to tear them down in what they are. My argument is how well this scheme is put together. I mean, they're basically taking rookies and bringing them in. And look, not for nothing, Vrabel was doing the same thing. Vrabel has the youngest team to have as many snaps as they've had in the Super Bowl era, in the playoffs, right? The youngest. So for them to get to where they got to this early could bode well for them. But when it comes for the Patriots, look, you got a powerhouse. I mean, I don't know what this Bills thing is going to look like. It could implode, Brad, with Joe Brady now at the helm.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know.
about that,
yeah, I don't know. What happens if, Rico ends up in Kansas City and has a resurgence of what you saw early in the year from here, right? Or, and Pat comes back healthy, or, Joe Burrow, they finally figure out the defense there and some of the offensive line, which these are things that I don't expect to happen right away. But you just have so many different, all the people, this doesn't happen that often. We really haven't seen this in quite some time, Brad. I mean, I want you to think about this for a second. When you think about the Roethlisberger, Manning, Brady, Breeze, and I'd say both Mannings era, right? Do you ever remember a year where none of those guys were either in the AFC or NFC championship or the Super Bowl? Because I don't. Rodgers, there were so many of these guys out there, right? I just don't remember a year where there's during that era, and we're kind of in that kind of era right now with Pat and Joe and Josh and Lamar. You know what I'm saying? For all these guys to get bounced before conference, you know what I'm saying? Matt Stafford still being the last one standing. But it honestly looked kind of weird this year. And I'd argue this point too. And we'll get to this in a second, but I talked about how it felt like some of the Super Week, it just didn't feel the same, man. During Super Week, you get all kind of clips. I watched all the NFL Network coverage, man. I love this stuff. I really soak this up during this time. But one, because it is officially the last week of football for, from now until, if you do UFL stuff, then, God bless you. But until college football starts, and then NFL. And of course, now being a content creator, I kind of get to fill that void by being interested in the draft and all that kind of stuff. But actually seeing games and real world action, this is it, right? And so it just didn't feel like you saw a lot of pizzazz. You saw more from the people that were talking off camera, the former players, the current players that have pods. MIcah's pod was fascinating. We'll look at, one of those clips in just a minute. Cam's pod was dope. Pat McAfee pod dope. And they talking to a lot of former guys and guys that's on other teams that didn't even go, that aren't even in the Super Bowl, right? Which is Micah Parsons' argument. We'll go ahead and get to it, where he felt this really, to him, felt like the Super Bowl that shouldn't have been, in a lot of ways. But this is him sitting down talking to Bryce and A.J. Brown.
Y'all can say I'm a hater, but this ain't what the Super Bowl supposed to look like.
That's crazy. Hold on. No.
You get modest on this show.
I need you to elaborate on that one, please.
Because football is so.
So they kind of skipped a little bit forward, and I'm gonna play this clip in a second that he's talking about. But I kind of feel that, Brad, people look, man, Saturday. Or was it? Yeah, it was Saturday. Duke and Carolina. Man, I was elated. Big time shot. I felt like that was payback for the Rivers shot all them years ago. I know this ain't the end of the championship, but this felt the atmosphere just felt good for us to do that in that moment because we've had so many of those heartbreaks, whether it was Villanova, you know what I'm saying, last second shot, or, you know, Austin Rivers and Cameron, you know, serving us up. It just felt good, especially to do it against them. I've talked about this on the channel before. It does not matter. Like, look, and shout out to Atlanta. We'll get to them in a minute because we got some stuff to talk about. But if Brad, I know this sounds crazy because I want to win. I want to be competitive. But if we don't do nothing else in the year, and I shout out to my boy JJ. I saw he reposted the stream on X. And JJ, I'm sorry, because JJ's a Duke fan. But if it's the NIT or a championship run year, I don't care as long as we beat them twice a year. I do not care about the rest of everything else turns out. And I feel that same way sometimes when we play Atlanta. I feel that exact same way, right? So I'm going to show you this real quick before we move on to this clip, Brad. I want to get your thoughts on this. This is the power rankings. I don't know if you saw this, but this is Fox's way too early NFL power rankings. Now, granted, this is from one writer, but one writer can be the spokesman for the entire network, clearly, because they use them on there and they use their graphics. But look where they got us, 24th. Can you believe it?
Yeah, and I mean, it's like I always say, 80% of the population has an 80 or lower IQ score. That's why having the first information out there is so quintessential to how people respond and how people follow up on your information. And so, yeah, it's way too early. But when you look at that, that's the first thing people are going to jump on. And they're going to be like, oh, man, so, if you're a Broncos fan, you're through the roof, you're elated. And that will sustain you until you start free agency, the draft, all those different things. Mm-hmm. But how can you do power rankings before you even do any of the free agency stuff? I mean, are you doing it on all the possible things that you think is going to happen? You know what I mean, Ralph? Or is it
Rolf
based on, what these teams finished with on their current roster? Because, you got teams out here with, 20, 25 free agents. Yeah. The Patriots literally added 30 new players this year. 30 new players.
Yeah.
So when I see us at 24 and I look at the teams in front of us that we handled, because I was going back and forth with some guys on the message board about the new schedule, and everybody was like, "Oh man, we're going to be done. We got this high. This is what finishing first when you're not ready gets you," and all that negativity, Chicken Little shit. And I was like, "Check it. We beat Green Bay, who we have to play next year, and you go through the schedule, and we won our division." We were in every game in our division, even the ones we lost. Some we won handily. And then you start looking at these other teams. The only ones outside of, Baltimore, like, the Bengals, if you can shut down that passing attack, the Bengals don't have nothing for you.
Yeah.
They're going to lose their best pass rusher, who half didn't play this year. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You go through those kind of different things. I mean, like I said, Baltimore, that could implode, or they could come out more focused. You look at Buffalo and some of these. I mean, we were talking about Buffalo the other day. I mean, you fire your coach and you look at some of the accolades, either winning the AFC East, going to the playoffs, 8 out of 9 years, and they fire him for the offensive coordinator you've had the last couple of years. And then you look at the fact that the big issue with them was their offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, you literally said the coach is the problem and we have good enough players, when the coach and everyone was saying, I mean, like, have you seen this stuff where the owner comes out and was saying that it wasn't Brandon Beane who wanted Keon Coleman, it was the coaching staff. I mean, like, this kind of stuff is going on in these, you know what I'm saying, in these organizations. I feel like, I heard you say earlier, you know, we shouldn't be any lower 16 or 17. I really believe we should be firmly behind, you know, Green Bay.
I can make an argument for that. The only reason that I would say the optics of the San Francisco game will turn for me and you. I'm rolling, but for the masses, I can see where they'd be like, "Are you serious? Did you see what y'all did on Monday night against San Fran?" Yeah, I did. Right. So, and like I said, you know, because there's a strong argument in the chat going on between, you know, the rankings or whatever, but swept Atlanta, split with Tampa, beat Dallas. Let's see. Washington was a shell of themselves with all their injuries. Same thing pretty much with the Bengals, and then beat Green Bay. So, I mean, I can see where I'll put it to you like this. I would like to see San Francisco be 14, we be 15. I said 16 earlier, but I think that would be comfortable. And if I'm not mistaken, at the end of the season, that's kind of where we were, in that like 14, 15 range. I don't have it in front of me, but I remember pulling that at one point, and we saw it. So we were kind of in that range. But, you know, Brad, really, I said this earlier before you came on. This kind of speaks to me to what has been happening around the league for quite some time, and it's the media arm of the league and just how we get treated. Like, here's an example, right? This was the Sunday NFL, you know, whatever you want to call it. And I know y'all might not be able to see this that well, but this is my tweet from Sunday. I was watching Sunday NFL Countdown, postseason NFL Countdown. And if you can look on that lower third, you'll see the class of 2026, right? There's 4 people on there. Let me name the 4. Roger Craig, Adam Vinatieri, Larry Fitzgerald, and Drew Brees. Who's not on there? Who else made the Hall of Fame? You guessed it, Luke Kuechly.
No.
And see, that's what I'm saying. When we talk about bias, you were talking about, like, look, where would you rank Roger Craig all time on the running back list? He wouldn't even crack the top 10. Drew Brees on the quarterback list. He would be in the top 10. Larry Fitzgerald would be in the top 10. Adam Vinatieri, probably number 1. Luke Kuechly, you could argue after Ray at 1, for most people, it's either him or a whole bunch of other names, but he's in that class. He is in that class. How in the world? And don't tell me, look, I'm a graphic designer. Don't tell me you didn't have enough room. You use Photoshop. You could have made class of 2026 smaller. You could have moved this line before postseason NFL Countdown a little bit to the side and grabbed a PNG of Luke. Even if you tucked him so neatly behind Drew Brees, you could have got him on there. This was intentional. You left him off on purpose. There's no way that you didn't know that Luke Kuechly made the Hall of Fame. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to us. For whatever reason, the media and the way they see us, and it ain't got nothing to do with small market. It's got everything to do with bias. I ain't trying to hear it no more. I ain't trying to hear the small market argument. It's just how they see us, and it is what it is.
Well, you remember the 15-1 year. I mean, they just moved the goalposts every single game. I mean, we played Washington, and Cam, you know, had 5 total touchdowns, and it was like 4 seconds, 5, click to the conversation, 30-second conversation, and then a 5-minute segment of the Cowboys. And it's like, you know what I mean? It is. It's the little brother syndrome you get after a while, I guess, but it's valid because, I mean, they really do. I mean, I get it, man, for people to tune in, that kind of stuff on the national stage. You know, you got to say something about the Cowboys and what Jerry's doing and all that. But when you have a team who is marching towards an undefeated season, they should lead everything. And if it was a bigger market franchise or just a franchise that, you know, they rock with like that, like it would be there. When the Patriots, you know, won every game until they lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl, every single sports center was led with them. During the week, what is it, Sunday NFL morning countdown, all of that. When we were 14-0, we were a part of it.
But it wasn't.
We were never the main headline.
Yeah, that's a fact.
No, we were never the lead.
That's a fact. Yeah. We got 120 watching between two platforms. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe button, and bell notification so you don't miss a video. Smash that like. It is free. Before we move on to our next topic, I'm going to go back to actually, we'll just go ahead and cue that up. But I'm going to go back to what Bryce had to say here in this situation with Micah Parsons. What he was talking about here. But I thought this was really interesting.
It's so hard to win at this league. Like, so the two teams that are there, they deserve to be there, guys. Like, trust me. Like, it is so hard to win. Like, for example, I just said the Panthers almost beat us, and to you all,
that was the example. You could have used a lot of things.
Stay with me. But the record at the time did show that you guys were playing well. But every given Sunday, you never know, and you have to come out and play your best ball. So to say again, those two teams deserve to be there.
What a segue, because he said something meaningful, and what he was talking about was our game against the Eagles last year. And we almost did beat them. And there was still time left on the clock. But you take a deep shot like that and he completes that catch and rolls into the end zone, that's pretty demoralizing. And our defense, I think, would have played well enough to be able to stop them one last time to be able to make, something happen. And it didn't. And so found it interesting, Brad. This was a conversation. I don't know if you had a chance to watch this, but we're going to watch a great deal of this. So, buckle in. This was a really good interview. Salute to Cam Newton, 4th and 1, him and Peggy. Super Bowl, media row or whatever. I love what they're allowing to happen now. The NFL, being someone that is a content creator, I look at more than just takes. I love to see businesses and how they run. The NFL does such a great job of marketing, right? And the NFL also does a really good job of standing on their principles and what they believe and what they'll allow. We'll talk about that, coming up soon. But I like what they've started to do with the Radio Row thing, not just the media conglomerates. I love, the fact that they had Micah Parsons there, Shannon and Ocho, Debo and Joe. It was just a lot of really good content. And to be honest with you, the reason why the Super Bowl teams themselves, why Micah said what he said about the luster of the teams that are there, and I agree with AJ, you're supposed to be there because you worked hard. But what I'm talking about when I say superstar is not just necessarily play on the field. That dictates some of it. And yes, Seattle, I did see this in the chat, are creating their own superstars, quote unquote, right? But just from the star power itself, these conversations that we're about to start looking at right now completely overshadowed any kind of narratives that were going on about the team leading up to this game. Any of them, right? And this was one that was really important. So let's get to it.
One here at Super Bowl 60. Man, this one is really interesting because we got a Carolina Panther, Xavier Legette. Mm-hmm. An individual that we got to get some straightening. Yes, the last couple of games, or the last game that we went to, there was a horse in a chariot right outside the stadium. That was you?
No, man, that wasn't me. Them folk they tried to carry me on the media, talking about that was me on the horse. That wasn't me.
That wasn't you.
I've said it once, I'll say it again. Fire David Newton. Period. You talked about my family, you know what I'm saying? Like, and not in a bad way, not in a disparaging way, but you said something cheeky. You were well versed enough working for ESPN to know that I lost my parents. You wrote about me enough. I was the first pick in the draft. That was one of the biggest stories coming out about me in this draft, was all the adversity that I had as to the reason why I blossomed in my 5th year in college and had the year that I had, right? So you knew, and you still asked this question for what reason, I do not know. But it felt malicious in my opinion, right? Then to go on and suggest, even though you didn't say this was XL, but the suggestion was there. Get him out of here. I've said it before, I'll say it again. One of the strongest positions I'll take. I will not back off of it, personally.
Riding for the game.
No, I'm in the stadium trying to focus on the game.
Then they over there talking about you riding in now.
Yeah, they juicing it up. That wasn't me, man.
Yeah. Man, listen. in a serious note, I challenged you before the season, right? I challenged Bryce before the season. You passed the eye test. You have all the factors where we say he got it.
Yes, Lord.
On paper, we don't see it.
Yeah.
For you, how do you get to a position where you know that you are at a spot where you are now proving people to be witnesses of what you have been invested in as the picks, the size, speed, strength, all the above?
Yes.
Okay, before he answers this, let me just say something real quick. And Brad, I'll let you respond to this. Let me tell you something I really, really have come to love about Cam Newton and respect. Because Cam has a polarizing view inside this fan base. Some people really love Cam, the football player, not so much the person. Some people really love Cam Newton, the football player, and tolerate the person. Some people love both. But one thing you cannot deny, two things. Number one, he is extremely comfortable in his skin. He knows exactly who he is, right? That comes from having strong upbringing. Number two, Cam is one of them people, and he showed this, we should have seen this early on. Because when Benji said all that stuff, when he left, Cam walked right up to him and TD was right there like thinking Cam getting ready to go over and beat this boy up. I ain't going to beat him up, man. I just want to know what's up, bro. Like, I advocated for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was in your corner. What was that about? You know, he like, nah, I don't want to talk. You got to see the perfect dynamic of one that they say, what Drake saying back to back, you know, who real and who ain't one. You know what I'm saying? Like, real is like, you say something, stand on it. If I ever said anything about, just if you want to speak to that, I can keep it going.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bet.
So, yes, sir, man. What I think I just got to get meaningful opportunities. You know what I'm saying? I think a couple of the targets that I was getting wasn't really meaningful. It wasn't really too much that I'm able to do with them. So I think this offseason, I got to focus on me, to go back and look at the things that I did and try to see what more can I do.
All right, stop right there before we even keep going. All right. Is he wrong? No, he is not wrong. Meaningful targets. Brad, you said it yourself. Balls dirted at his feet. Balls thrown over his head against Miami. Limited opportunities and reps. I ain't trying to hear it, though. 55 targets. All those targets wasn't like that. Not all of them. Now, he didn't have a ton of drops. I would argue.
It's such an opportunity and a blessing, man, to have this opportunity, man. It's like, listen, I feel like these certain opportunities, and some of the proof's in the pudding. I mean, we always go back to the Atlanta game where they just lined him up and was like, beat your man one-on-one, smoke him, and they hit him over the top for the touchdown. And I am with you, man. I mean, there were some dirted balls, things like that, but they're also, you know, and I don't get ahead of where we're at in the interview, but a lot of that has to do with relationships, man. I mean, I think about the pass last year where it was kind of on his shoulder and he allowed the defensive back from behind to wrestle it away. I mean, those are the kind of things that stick in the quarterback's mind. And he will
100%.
Yeah, and he will or will not continue to divvy out those opportunities accordingly. I mean, we've all heard interviews with Aaron Rodgers talk about like, hey, man, a guy drop a few passes, it's going to be a while before I give him another chance.
Period.
So getting to where he's going in the interview, yeah, man, like that relationship's got to be a little different.
And just put everything together. I think Coach Canellis and all, like everybody, the Panther organization got a plan for me. I feel like we're just trying to work everything out right now. And I think at the end of the day, at the end, when it comes to an end, it's going to work out for me.
This is the common question that I would want to have with my receivers. For you and the investment that has been given to you, how would you want to be used that you haven't been used yet?
It's time for...
Oh, man. Come on. Selling butts.
Time to sell these ads.
Let's get back to me a second. All right, here we go. I hope they didn't cut this part out.
College no more, but at the same time, it's football. And I'll say I want to be used the same way I was used my last year in college. They was giving me opportunities to make them deep balls. They were giving me deep balls. They were giving me them choice routes. They were giving me a lot of things to put me in position to be in the driver's seat.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'll say if I could just get back to that, then I think everything will be smooth.
Yeah.
What did I say last year? Boy, it's funny how these things come into fruition. I love that Dan Moore. There's two things here with him saying what he just said that I really, really, really love. Number one, I love that Dan Morgan made a decision that when Teteroy McMillan was staring you right in the face at 8 because you probably were surprised that he was there, it was like, oh, yeah, no-brainer. And people around the league probably looking like, huh? I understand you giving Bryce some weapons, but, I mean, they looked pretty solid last year against Atlanta. I mean, you would think that, you know, these guys can develop, and you might make a strong argument that XL might have developed into the X. You never know. He played okay in the Atlanta game. You know, Jalen Coker played well. So you got guys. Y'all had the worst defense statistically in league history. You draft a receiver? Yes. Why? Because I see aggressive in that boy's eyes, and as soon as he finds it out, this offense is going to be something to deal with. And towards the end of the season, it became that, right? But let's fast forward back or rewind back. Second part of that, I want to be used like I was used in college. Well, the route against the Eagles was similar to what you do in college, drop. I want to be used like I was used in college. Well, you can make a decision to run a choice route. If many of you out there don't know what a choice route is, it is literally like, hey, you have a choice to what you want to run based on what the defense is showing. You do it, I look for you, we make a play. Now, considering where you were drafted, you would probably get carte blanche to be able to do that. Only problem is that every time we run a slant, you get blown up and the ball comes out. When you run a stick nod, it's usually not completed. You see what I'm saying? Feet not in proper place. We saw the Jalen Coker contorting of his body in the in the wild card game, stepping his feet inbounds with that catch. Would you ever think XL could do anything like that? Probably not. So the choices are limited. That's part of the problem. So then, okay, what do I do? What's the solution? Well, Cam's about to give it to you.
I'll give you a different perspective as well, too, that a lot of receivers don't understand. If I could give you a piece of advice, lock in with your quarterback. Simple. When I mean lock in, it ain't reps. This has nothing to do with physical. The reason why me and Greg was so effective, one day a week, me and Greg will watch film. And it wasn't watching film where, like, bro, after practice, Greg knew I was still watching film. He would come in as I was watching film and ask this simple question. What you see?
Right.
Oh, you see it like that? Oh, I'm not open to you. But Cam, I am open.
Right.
Give me an opportunity. Those type of rapports don't happen as much as people think from the receiver to the quarterback position. And from the quarterback lens, it's always where, bro, I gave you one slant, bro, you were strapped. I gave you another one, you may have slipped. I gave you another one and you just dropped it. That a quarterback loses confidence just like a receiver loses confidence in the quarterback's accuracy.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that for sure.
Brad, we talked about that ad nauseum. Let me tell you what else we talked about. At the end of this year, we started finally seeing the fruits of the labor because Jalen Coker came into the season labored, allegedly out of shape, hurt. But boy, when he started to turn it on, when things started to get, a little better for him, what did we see? We saw the fruits of labor because last year, and I ain't saying, look, what Cam just described is not what I just described. XL, I said this before on the channel. He is but I'm just going off of what you put out there. I'm not saying definitively because I don't know you. But if I'm going off of what you put out there, he's more of an introvert. He's a family guy. He want to be around his people. I want to go hunt. I want to eat squirrels. All that horseback stuff, that's me. That's what I want to do, right? These guys ain't on that type of time. I love the NFL, but this is really where I'm at with it. This is what I really, really enjoy and what I love and what, makes me feel whole. You know what I'm saying? And he's a personable guy, super personable guy, a guy that more than likely is supporting people that are around him, you know what I'm saying, in the loss of some, really key family members in his life. However, when you look at Jalen Coker last year, where did you see Coker mostly? Locked to Bryce's hip. Pictures in the offseason, the only place that he wasn't, and it was because of training due to injury, was when they had that little retreat that Adam Thielen threw out in Minnesota. Outside of that, basketball games right there with him. Training in California right there with him. Probably on the phone with him once, 2, 3 times, 4 times a week. Now, that's a different type of rapport. Not saying you have to have that, because that's not the example that Cam Newton just set. Cam Newton and Greg Olsen could not be more different as people. But here's where the commonality lies. Professionalism. And that's what Cam is going to go on to say. Before I push play, I want to hear your response to that.
Well, the thing to me is...
my bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got you. The thing to me is, man, everybody has got to get to a certain level of professionalism. I don't know if this kid's there or not. When he comes in, he looks in shape. When he comes in, he looks like he's been working. You get your reports out of the Charlotte Observer that he's staying after and working on his hands and all those different things. I feel like this is just one more thing that he needs to have in his head. Like, look, man, do everything you can to mature and to deepen that relationship with the guy who divvies out the opportunities. We know Bryce and T-Mac have a relationship from California. Mm-hmm. We know that him and Coker, their relationship has blossomed since Coker has, been in the NFL and been in Carolina with, all the things that you just described. And so I feel like this is just another thing where he needs to know in his head, like, hey, man, like, working with your quarterback, being where he's at, it's going to require some more additional sacrifice on your part. You may think that by working out with Route God, going and, running your sprints and working out when you're at home, when you're, not hunting, riding horses and those things, and then you show up on time and you show up training camp, mini camp, you think you're doing what you need to do. You got to also, on top of being a gym rat, you've got to work on your relationships. Mm-hmm. And that's something everybody doesn't know. I think we've seen with this kid, like the time it's taken for him to mature, the losses he's endured in his personal life. And then him being from a small town, like these just might be things that he doesn't know, he hasn't picked up on. I mean, I feel like Cam really did put him on some true game, you know what I'm saying? To be like, look, man, here are things you can do to get better. Here are things you can do to improve your immediate situation. And I just hope the kid, wasn't in any kind of way dismissive. I mean, it sounds like he's, absorbing it. It sounds like he's taking the advice. And he's like, yeah, man, I agree with you. So even Cam was saying, like, I'm a film rat. I'm watching film all the time. And then I go get with my tight end and it's like, hey, here's another nuance that you haven't thought about. Mm-hmm. And you started seeing that kind of stuff. I mean, the back end zone throw against Seattle in the playoffs, where it was like if you're watching all 22 and Cam doesn't make that throw, you don't think that he missed Greg Olsen if he goes somewhere else, because it looked like Greg Olsen was covered. You know what I'm saying? He gave him the opportunity. Now, I have seen, like, the Denver game last year, a couple of those times he has tried to hit Excel on those jump balls. I'm thinking, okay, this is the opportunities you're talking about. Get a hand on it, can't secure it, those different kinds of issues, pop up. So it's like, okay, so now that I've got this other 6'5" avatar, I'm going to go to him in the red zone. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because the 2 or 3 times I've gone to him, he's only dropped it once. The other times have been touchdowns. Some of them super contested. You do have so few opportunities, especially on a run-heavy team like we are. Mm-hmm. But I mean, as far as the other stuff, like, you know, when you were talking about Coker coming back and contorting his body and all those different things, I like what Schlereth said about giving your quarterback a chance on, you know, the plays where like XL catches it and then 1 foot out of bounds, like, you know, the toe tap, those kind of things. But I'm always going to push back on the, like, every catch shouldn't have to be amazing. I am glad, though, that it's this kind of competition in our wide receiver room.
Mm-hmm.
Because this kid, man, like, he had the opportunity as the first round pick to do his thing. And when you got this undrafted guy that's coming out and he's making chicken salad and you're continuing to muck around, you know what I'm saying, in the stew and struggle, hey, you better take this game and you better, you know, take it to heart. And as soon as this, you know, couple more weeks of everybody chilling, vacationing, he needs to get on it.
Yeah.
Because Bryce, I mean, they're going to pick up Bryce fifth. They picked up Bryce fifth option.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be your potential quarterback for the next 2 or 3 years.
100%. And that's the thing that you're right. And so that still goes back to my argument. And I still don't think that it's off the table that they move on. And the reason is because now here's what I'll say. The way that he answers these questions right here, I'll say this after the fact. Let's keep going.
Sure, I feel like that do play a big part in the game, and I feel like in that part of in that aspect, I do lack in that part because I don't have sit downs with Bryce as much as I should. So I agree with that.
So, and even knowing this, bro, I've been in the league long enough to understand certain positions, they the last one in, first one out.
Oh.
Receivers, DBs, some linebackers, and some words of wisdom that was given to me. There's two types of players in the NFL. There's football players, and there's professional football players.
Oh.
Bar. Because that's where it is right there. There's football players and professional football players. Here's the reality, Brad. When you're doing so many different things as a rookie, dating back to the Captain Munnerlyn conversation, man, I had all this media stuff and I had all this and all this, that. There's really not a lot of time for you to focus on the main thing being the main thing, and that's playing. So now you got that opportunity. How are you using it? Right? What's your offseason looking like? As I told you before, and I will say it again, brother, live your life. Just don't show us everything, because that's what we judge you on. I can only judge you off the optics. And if the optics are drop passes, excuses about dirted balls, all these other kind of things that we talk about, right? And look, I see the chat. I see that there's people like, well, man, he throw every ball at his feet. Really? Not every single one. Did he throw the one at his feet that got stripped away last year against New Orleans? He didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, did he throw it at his feet? I mean, even this year, we can go to this year. Did he throw it at his feet on the 3 touchdowns? No. That ball, you could tell that they were in succession. I argued this point in the Green Bay game. Bryce tried to make that same throw that he made to XL in the Dolphin game, where he kind of throws it just a little bit inside shoulder, right, around the DB, where he contorts his body and makes a weird catch. He did it in the Dolphin game. Amazing play. You know that had to be repped a bunch of times. They just made a mistake, and Jair Alexander made him pay for it. But the point is that.
Well, plus he was throwing in a 25-mile-per-hour wind.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point.
Because it laid up a little bit where it didn't lay up in Miami.
In Miami, yes. That's a great point, right? It's an excuse that people don't want to give, but there's a reason that the camera angles up towards the top of the goalpost and shows the flags waving like crazy. They want to show you just how intense it is in that building, right? So, yeah, great point. But to Excel's credit, I will say, like we talked about it, you got to give him opportunities. But that's going to come from the professionalism part. This may be the first time that somebody, and I know people like, dawg, that's an excuse. Nah, because not everybody going to give it to you real like Cam. Not every coach is going to give it to you real. The coach has a ton of responsibilities. Mm-hmm. I watched yesterday, and there's a reason why, Cameron said and paid in full, people get, no, I'm not going to, that would be tasteless, because that's not what I mean when I say this. It is an unfortunate reality that people pass away often, Brad. It's just the fact of life, right? But not everybody that passes has the same impact as others, right? And this isn't a weighing like who's great and who's not contest. But I was very moved yesterday when I saw on 2 different networks people talking about Coach Beam out of Laney College in, Last Chance U guy, right? Out of Laney in California. A guy like that can really like reach down in the depths of a guy like XL and find the greatness. That guy doesn't exist everywhere. That's why he was getting shown the love that he was shown so much yesterday. And since he was tragically murdered, right? Because he was that kind of guy. I don't know that exists on this coaching staff, those type of people. I think Dave Canales could be one of those type of guys. Maybe is, right? I don't know fully because we don't really get a whole lot of inside look into the workings between him and players outside of what they, tell us that's very scripted. But this may be the first time that XL has really got game like this. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to listen to us. He's not listening to content creators. We've said this, right? And we're probably not the only ones that have said this. But I know for a fact that you and I have said this on this channel. Lock in with your QB, right? It is the best piece of career advice that you can have. And the fact that he was vulnerable enough, this is why I'm going to give XL a ton of credit. And I think personally, this could be a career-altering conversation for him. This conversation, I will dare say, based on what I have said I would like to see, I think that this conversation could have been the very thing that saved XL's career in Carolina to begin with, right? Because of the vulnerability of him saying, you know what? You're right, man. I really ain't locked in with Bryce like I'm supposed to. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that Bryce is the end-all, be-all, but whoever's your signal caller, you need to be locked in with him. That's what Cam's point is trying to be. You think Cam wanted to be locked in with Kalen Clay? He was. And gave him an opportunity. I'm serious. And gave him an opportunity in a game where he dropped a pass that could have potentially sent us to the what? NFC Championship, was it? Or was that the wild card round? To the division.
It would have sent us to the division. That was
the
wild card round.
You see what I'm saying? How you think Cam felt about that? Hey, but you know what? It is what it is, bro. Let's go talk about it. He wasn't on the team after that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I remember him in New England bouncing balls off of N'Keal Harry's chest just over and over, like, man, like, come on, dude, catch this one, bam. Catch this one, bam. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
I think it's one of those things that said, I tell people, I don't want to waste picks. And he's a first-round pick of ours. He's still on a rookie deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the trade value, I mean, maybe somebody out there, but they know what he is and what he's done here. And if somebody's trying to offer something below a 6, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't even look at that. You can't even give him a sniff. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I want the kid to succeed. Like, you've seen the things that he did. And then to your aspect, you know what I'm saying, back to the point of, is there anybody on this staff? Like, I was recruited, by I had his name in my Jim Caldwell. You know what I'm saying? Jim Caldwell is a very, very personable human. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And that was a big thing of his when he played, when he was the coach of the Colts. It was like, yo, Jim Caldwell is this really, really personable guy. And mm-hmm. everyone in the building. So I've seen more of Dom Capers with defensive guys and with Evero. And, I think maybe that's just kind of what the reports they're doing. But I don't know how much stamp that, Jim Caldwell's getting to put on this team. But, I mean, you look at, our guy, the linebackers coach on the Roar Room podcast. I mean, he seems to be a guy that interacts with people really, really well, and a guy that the players trust.
He's about debates. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, you know what I'm saying? So my hope is, that there is someone like that. But, I mean, to me, you can't, at this point, give up on a guy who's, played 30-some games and, you have him for very cheap for another couple years. I mean, they don't even have to look at an option until after the year after next. You know what I'm saying? And you can get what you can get out of him. If it doesn't work in the end, because I've seen the kind of guys that teams move on from after 1 year, and his attitude and his effort don't reflect that.
Right. And, because Joe Clarity was making a point. He said he felt like he was talking to Dr. MIcah. Shout out to y'all in the chat. He said he was talking about the way the XL is kind of responding to this. I mean, you do have to take a few things into consideration. Number one, he knows that he's sitting on a platform where all of us are going to see this, and not just us, but everybody that's connected to Cam Newton from a media personality perspective. Cam's on First Take right now, you know what I'm saying? Or it might be over at this point, but Cam out there. So anything that Cam puts out there is going to grow, and it's going to grow legs, and it's going to be talked about. So, he might be a little bit nervous, right? That's number one. Number two, man, when you're a guy like XL, man, and this is the one thing that I like to do on this show from a context perspective, because from a fan perspective, we can have the thoughts of like, man, I want to see him gone. I want to see him here. I want to see him succeed. I don't really care what happens to him. But we cannot leave out the human factor of this. We cannot leave out the fact that it would affect anybody if they lost both of their parents at such a young age. Like, you can't leave that out. That context has to be there. And guess who I'm talking to when I say that? Me. I'm talking to me, right? Because sometimes I lose sight of that. So I have to reflect in my own face like, yo, dog, you got to chill when it comes to this kid, because in a lot of ways in his life, a lot of things are just about survival, right? And for him to overcome and persevere, like we talked about earlier, to even get to this point is incredible. There's a lot of talent in there. I told you, Brad, you go back and watch the film. There ain't nobody on this roster, and I will say this boldly, even with the guy that just won Offensive Rookie of the Year, nobody explodes off the line like XL. Nobody. His first step is deadly. When you go back and watch that LA Rams game, that same outside release when he was in press, I'm like, that's where if I'm Bryce, this is how I would like to see this conversation start to go before we move on, because we're about to move on. Here's where I want to see this conversation go. When Cam talks to XL and says, hey, man, you need to make him your best friend. I remember the conversation, and Bryce is not this type of guy, but I got to put some culpability on him too, man. It's not just enough to go give your guy a chance. Man, go talk to him. McCole Hardman dropped a big-time pass in the freaking Super Bowl, Brad. And Pat went over and, hey, man, calm down. He was down on himself. He walked over to him, bypassed Andy, bypassed Eric Bieniemy, everybody, and walked right over to him and was like, dog, you going to make a play in this game, but I need you to lock in. Let that go. I know it was a big-time drop. I think it might even led to a pick, Brad, if I'm not mistaken. You going to make a play for us. Who caught the game-winning touchdown, Brad? That's what I'm saying. Mecole Hardman. You see what I'm saying? That stuff matters. So if you, Bryce, that to me, that's part of the next step in your development. It's like, dog, you got to go talk to them too. You got to get with your man. Hey, listen, my bad, I ain't see you right there. If you XL, dog, man, you should have seen me, bro. My goodness. The same pass you threw against Atlanta, Brad, I'm telling you, if you thought the bank was lit, if Bryce would have looked in XL's direction when he released off the line outside, press man, and he was wide hammer open, and he went to Coker because Coker was cooking all game long. So you want to go to the hot hand. But boy, if you would have looked in my direction, oh my God. And if they gave it to you once, what will they do, Brad? They'll give it to you again. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, dog, look my way. I promise you, I got you. It would have been the same thing that happened in Atlanta. The bank would have exploded. We'd have been feeling the tremors off of the shaking in the stadium all the way up in Asheville. That's how intense it would have been inside that stadium had he saw him on that same play against Atlanta, right? Releasing to the outside where he was wide open, blew the man off the line of scrimmage. And I'm like, man. So that's what Cam talking about, like, dog, just look for me. Just look for me. Don't go over there and be quiet and be like, oh, man, he's leave me. No. Go over to me. Hey, dog, check it out. In my best version of a California voice, Let me try to take down some of the country stuff and tell you, my young California brother, if you look on the outside and see me out there, please come my way. I promise I got you. I promise.
And when they get to the sideline, they've got tablets. They have everything diagnosing all of the options that they had on the previous, 3 or 4 plays during that drive. You know what I mean? It's the science of it's there too. It's definitely a relationship thing. And that's something that we have talked about as far as Bryce. I mean, he's very California, laid back, quiet, unassuming. I do like what he does at the end of halves, at the end of games, waiting, slap 5 with everybody, all those different kind of things. And there is, leadership there because guys do ride for him. But when you're the quarterback, man, you are the franchise. And that's one of those things where I talk about, Cam so glowingly is he had an entire city on his back, and still, I remember when he went to New England, and I just remember the Devin McCourty saying, I thought Cam was full of himself. That's how he was presented in the media, all that. And he was like, there is not a person in this building that he doesn't have a personal relationship with, from the janitorial staff all the way to the GM to the owner. He was like, everybody deals with Cam Newton. Everybody's got positive things in their mouth. That's one of those things that I feel like that's Bryce's next step in his maturation, is completely taking over the whole team, the whole locker room, and having everybody understand, I'm the quarterback, I'm who you can rely on, and I'm going to come to you. You know what I'm saying? Because I get that from Excel. I worked in, group homes and stuff. And, you had those kids that, deal with a bunch of tragedy. And you can even tell in the way he, operates in the interview. It's not so much that the kid's got a huge chip on his shoulder, but he has a barrier up with people.
Yeah.
And then, all the kind of stuff that he's dealing with the local media and things like that. And then him, basically becoming the whipping boy for all of these fans that are angry about him not getting Lad McConkey numbers, us not taking McConkey, because McConkey is balling. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And he was right there. He got picked behind him and Keon Coleman. The same thing's happening in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Everybody's dumping on Keon Coleman. They're like, we could have got Lad McConkey. What were we even doing? We didn't even have to trade our pick. We didn't have to do this.
Yeah, including his organization.
Right.
Yeah.
The owner's talking about we didn't want him.
Yeah.
The coaches wanted him. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with you on that. Said all that to say, I'm with you on that. I hope Bryce goes to him and he's like, hey man, listen, I caught your interview. Let's make this a thing that we're getting together. When I've got my guys out in California, I need you to be there. If we need to work after, practice, we need to watch film together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
By putting the onus on Excel, Cam, objectively did the same thing to Bryce.
He sure did. And the thing is, the thing that I love, man, is that you've got advocacy here. This isn't a situation where you're walking into, I've seen people referencing, T.O. in the chat. T.O. was also a questionably bad.
That's disingenuous.
Yeah, he's also a questionably bad teammate. You know what I'm saying? T.O., don't get me wrong.
Horribly bad teammate.
T.O. was a unbelievable talent. That's not Excel. And plus, let me say this too. I live by this mantra. Comparison is the thief of joy. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. I saw my boy Lo in the chat. Lo, if you don't know this, I played your brother's joint at the beginning of the show, man. The Ten Fuego or whatever it's called. It's hard. Just put it that way. But it is for real. But I was just telling him this the other day. When we were linking up and shout out to my boy Lo. Shout out to the pregame podcast. Y'all make sure to follow that. Lo and I'll be doing some collaborations, and we'll probably do more even more coming up soon. But I was just telling him, I'm like, dog, run your race. I'm running mine. Like that's how I feel about One Carolina. Like I don't care what I got respect for what everybody else is doing out there. Like I really do. But I could give two whats about what anybody else thinks or even what they doing for that matter. Like it's some people out there that I watch that I really like. Y'all know that. I've talked about that. FPFO, my favorite pod. It is what it is. But I got love for everybody. But I'm not comparing myself to nobody. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't. If I did that, I would be in the dumps. I'm not going to compare what T.O. was or what this person is. But what I talked about, he got advocacy. You know what I'm saying? Like, T-Mac is an advocate. He is very, very comfortable. T-Mac know who he is, bro. You could tell that by what happened. Hey, shout out my nigga Mac. I just put it to you like that. You could tell with what happened this week that T-Mac is, he know who he is. You know what I'm saying?
Bang like T-Mac.
But he also an advocate. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see it. Anytime XL score, he the first one to run over to him and congratulate him. You know what I'm saying? Like, just bigging him up. Not just him, Jalen Coker too. You know what I'm saying? He got advocates on the team. The biggest thing is like, dog, you need to lock in with your quarterback because clearly there's something there, right? And then just get out of your own way. Get out your own way. But anyway, man, I appreciate y'all joining me today. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe button, bell notification so you don't miss a video. You talked about it. We won't spend too much more time on this one, but Cam and Bryce had a bit of a back and forth. There wasn't anything remotely close to what we saw here, but there's a few nuggets here.
Man, listen, sir. As we talk about, you never know who will come.
Dog.
No, don't say it. Don't say it. Hey, that reminds me of, do you remember the Monday Night Football game where Jonathan Ogden and Jamal Lewis are standing on the sideline? Yeah, that.
You know what this looked like to me, man? I don't know if you ever saw this before, bro. But, and shout out to, man, Pat McAfee. Bro, he got one of the funniest shows on earth, bro. But when they were talking about little Andrew Siciliano on NFL Network, Siciliano, as he be calling him, and he was like, he said they'll take Siciliano and put him next to like freaking Willie McGinnis and like Manute Bowl and whatever like that, because the dude ain't but like 5'2". And like, bro, he looked crazy standing next to these people. And they'll like have these big old chairs and he'll be sitting in these chairs and be like, his feet will be dangling off the chair because he's trying to sit up and be equal to Willie or whatever. It's wild, bro. Bro, this optic is nuts. This is crazy. Look, he's smaller than Peggy, bro. Like, this is where you need to like wear some jeans, dog. Cause like wearing the all black, this looks crazy. But it looks crazy, Brad, but I'm going to tell you what else it looked like. I mean, what else it proves and what I love about it. Bro, a dog, man. Bro is a dog. Let me ask you something. I'm going to upload this real quick. I'm going to see if you've seen this because this was talked about. You're going to see me kind of do the back inner workings of my show here for a second, and I don't care. But give me like 2 seconds. Actually, I'll just say it. Kay Adams was interviewing Bryce. And they showed a graphic because Bryce was talking about how he plays better once he gets hit. And he was like, man, I start getting hit and I play a whole lot better. And then they showed it where Bryce, if he gets hit 6+ times in a game, he's 4-1 with like 11 touchdowns, the 1 pick, 100 passer rate. And like, it's insane. I'm like, this little dude is crazy. He played this whole little, I'm just so, hey, I'm just glad to be here kind of guy. I'm like, nah, this little nigga a psycho in real life. You know what I'm saying? But
he's definitely a little kid. He's definitely a little kid that ran around the corner, hit his head on the coffee table, and everybody gasped and was like, "Oh Lord, he's dead!" And he jumped up, rubbed it real hard 2-3 times, and was back outside.
Yeah, definitely. Like your boy, like you was telling me about. Yeah, because this is crazy. I mean, but it also there's 2 things happening here simultaneously, because he is, and I know we're getting like stuck on this, but I didn't realize this until I'm looking at it now. Like, this is crazy, bro. And the chairs are all the same size. Like, Cam is an ogre. Like, and like with the hat on and all that stuff, that just make it look even crazy. Like, Cam looked like Black Burt Reynolds. Like, Cam looked like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all of it, the mustache, the whole thing. Like, and I mean, this dude was a mammoth playing quarterback, bro. He was a mammoth on the football field, period. But because the average height of the American male is this. It's 5'10". You know what I'm saying? But it just looked nuts, bro. It looked crazy. All right, let's get to it.
Come to the hot seat in regards of the next guest. Really needs no introduction, but I have to. As a way to pay homage to the city of Charlotte, it's only right that we give the surrogate son, Bryce Young, you know, the platform to come and talk. So welcome to 4th and 1.
Hey.
Allah always got it done.
Okay.
Hey. What about that last game, bro? Talk to us, bro. Like, I was so pleased. First off, this whole year, I challenged you. And I'm saying to myself, it's make or break time. Because in your position, the doubt, the questions, the unsureness of like, is he the answer? You proved that you can be, and you have shown that to be a franchise quarterback.
Wait, what did he say, Brad? What did he just say?
That he's shown.
You heard him.
And proved and can be franchise quarterback.
You heard him. That's for a few of y'all. You heard him. We ain't got to say.
Hey, you remember last year? You remember last year when he didn't stop? He was like, and Bryce didn't stop by one particular tent, and that's very telling.
Yeah.
Look where he at.
Look where he's at. Look where he's at. Prove me wrong.
This is where the healing begins.
There's a Christian song called "This Is Where the Healing Begins" that I absolutely love. I think it might be by Matthew West. Yeah.
When I came back to support, there was a lot of things that I was seeing that, kind of reminded me when I was there. How was this season, a step in the right direction for you? And how do you plan on getting the franchise back to this specific competitive, way moving forward?
Yeah. I mean, it was, first off, thank y'all for having me here.
Sure.
It was, it was
Let
just
me
great
put
for
this
me.
mic up to you.
I really
Look.
appreciate the growth. Like,
I know. Look at the little mic up right here, cuz. Sit up real quick. Look at the little mic right there.
Yeah, all right, sit up.
Little homie.
Lord.
The journey, I feel like, everyone has their journey, everyone has their path, and for me, I've been trying to be consistent through it. So this year, pushing forward, making sure that we're growing, and like you said, for it to end in that playoff game, that was, I just got to give a big shout out to, to the city, to the Carolinas, out like that atmosphere. Obviously, there's been ups and downs since I've been there, and I've seen the stadium look a lot of different ways, and that last game, like, just to feel the energy, you coming out there, setting the tone, that was really, really cool moment for the Carolinas. And it's great, it was a lot of fun, but my favorite part is no one in that locker room, definitely myself included, no one was satisfied with that. That was it was a step, which was good, but that's not the end goal by any stretch of the means. We got a lot more work to get there to make sure we build off of it, but we're all excited to do that work. It can't just be this was fun, this was great. There's no feeling of that in the locker room. We have to make that the standard. We have to do the work to to get back there to accomplish our goals. So we're just excited for that process.
So that's really all I wanted to hear in this interview was those two things: what Cam said to Bryce there, and what Bryce said back to Cam. And here's what I love, because man, the bank was so energized, Brad. I mean, the fan base, we were energized. Everybody was excited. We almost beat the Rams, but we were still 8-9. You know what I'm saying? We still backdoored our way in. That's kind of what we've done in historically. what I love that I hear here is that I like that nobody, because he wasn't the only person I heard that from. I like that nobody is satisfied with where that ended. Even if it would have ended with a Lombardi, it's still like, yeah, but we were still 8-9. You know, it's like we can do so much better than that. That is, to me, the first step in greatness. I do feel like, and I can't say this for Cam because I don't feel like this way with Cam, and maybe you could argue against it, but it does kind of feel like to go from 15-1 down to 6-10. Some of the people in that locker room felt themselves. They was like, bro, we just went nuts, and we went 15-1. You know how many teams have done that and almost won the Super Bowl? Very few. You know what I'm saying? Felt like there's a little bit of a drop off. To go from 15-1 to 6-10 is a humongous drop. Now I know you lost a lot. You did. You lost. If I'm not mistaken, Tillman was gone after that. You lost Jared, but Jared came in kind of like, as, I guess reinforcements. He wasn't there from the jump. He wasn't in camp and all that kind of stuff. But you lost Norman, but you still had the core. You still had the core 4, if you will. 5, I would say. So
you wouldn't say Norman was a part of the core in 2015?
Not like Kuechly, Olsen, Greg. Kuechly, Olsen, Cam, Stu, and Williams. No.
Well, I would, and the fact that he left for
don't get me wrong, that season was incredible. Yeah.
Well, no, think about it though. The way we shut down Atlanta, and then the next year Julio goes for 300 on a young Bené Benwickery, to the point where, they were just gassed and like they wanted the game to be over. And then Josh tweets, "You get what you pay for." It was super perfect for him. And then, I'll be honest, man, you had sloppy ass Kelvin Benjamin come back.
Yeah.
And he was a team cancer that hadn't manifested itself yet completely. You know what I mean? Cause that's the year that Cam throws to him and he quits on a route. Cam runs down the field and tries to make a tackle on the 10-yard line and starts the shoulder problems that eventually anchor his career down to what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to Anthony Pick. I'm going to highlight 2 comments real quick. He said, Cam just want to see consistency like we do. Agreed. It's really Canales' game plan and it's inconsistent. Some games we let him rip it, and other games he's 0-1 Tom Brady. I know what you mean by that because 0-1 Tom Brady threw 1 touchdown in the entire playoffs in the Super Bowl that they won. So shout out to Bill.
Mm-hmm.
First
140 a game.
Yeah, that was before they started deflating footballs and filming people, but, whatever. The other is
well, that was
go ahead.
That's when they start going to page 3. That's when they start going to page 3,000 of the rule book. When a quarterback gets stripped, but it looks like he was bringing the ball back from a passing standpoint, that's called a tuck. And so when he loses it, that is not a turnover. That's an incomplete pass. Now let's bring the snowblower out, clean off the field, Adam Vinatieri, boom.
Right. They on my top about what I said. Somebody on my top about what I said about Norman. But Norman, would you argue that Norman, when I say core 4, would you argue that Norman had any season consistently like he had in 15 compared to what Luke, Olsen, Stu, Williams, and Cam did? No. But he was still like that. It ain't like I wanted him to leave. Like, I ain't saying that. Like, all right. Anyway, we got somebody, Dr. Mike says that, let's see, his daughter plays forward at Appalachian State. So we got another Mountaineer in the house, Brad. Shout out to the Mountaineers. Hey, if y'all don't know, Brad is one of the best App State recruits that ever existed. So, yeah, you got royalty in the building. So I'll just say that. So you know what time it is. Anyway, shout out to y'all, man. Make sure to smash that like button. We got 150 watching between 2 platforms. I appreciate y'all joining me on this post-Super Bowl Mint Street Mondays. I know we've missed a couple of weeks. It's just been a little bit of stuff going on with me. Everything's going well, but also weather, man. That played a big, factor. I don't know if y'all had a lot of snow where you live, but if you live in the Carolinas, we experienced, an ice storm, and then right behind that, snow at the level that I hadn't seen since I was a young man living in Western North Carolina, where we used to see it quite often, and don't see it nearly as much down here where I am in the upstate. But yeah, it was a pleasant thing, man. I'll tell you, Brad, just real quick. So, people know I've shared pictures before of my truck. I drive. My daily driver is a 1986 GMC K1500. I have had that truck for quite some time. That truck belonged to my grandfather, who bought it brand new, my dad, who got it after him, and then passed it down to me. And so I love that truck. I will drive that truck over any new car. My wife drives the nice newer car. I drive the old truck because I just really enjoy old, American muscle. I can work on them myself. And so my motor needs to be changed. So I, in the process of buying a crate motor for it, to put in it. And boy, was I so sad, because this is the second year that truck has given me trouble where I couldn't go play out in the snow in it, because it is a 4-wheel drive and it's got big old mud tires on it, and it's a lot of fun. And I didn't get to do anything, Brad. And that really pissed me off. I'm gonna be honest with you. Really, really pissed me off. So I spent most of my time doing what I should have been doing anyway. And that's spending time with my babies, watching movies and eating ice cream and doing all the, fun, the dad stuff. So it was a lot of fun. And so, during that time, I mentioned that I wanted to, do Mint Street Mondays, but, I hadn't really had a chance to really spend that much time with my girls where they were out of school. And then during Mondays, they were here doing e-learning. And it's like, I don't want to really be interrupting, because I needed to help them in that process and everything. So, took a couple of weeks off, but we bike, and we're not going nowhere from this point forward. So moving right along, Brad, I ran into an article, and I thought this article was interesting because, now that everything's over, now it's our time. It's our time. This is content creator season, right? The most fun time of the year if you're a content creator of any sports team, because the NFL does one thing really, 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 really well. The Bible says that the absence of hope makes the heart sick. And there's no league in sports that sells hope more than the NFL, because now everybody's 0-0, and you can literally flip your team. The New England Patriots won 4 games last year. They were in the Super Bowl. The Seattle Seahawks won 10 games last year and missed the playoffs. They were in the Super Bowl. So you really can change your fortunes overnight. That being said, I am so tired. And this is no shot at Cat Crave, because I love Dean and I love all those guys over there. But I am tired of us taking this lackadaisical approach to going out and trying to procure, if you will, big name talent to come here to the Carolinas. And it's not for a lack of trying, right? It's not that they're not trying to do that. I'm tired of the conversations is what I guess I should say, because they tried. They tried with Milton Williams. The consolation prize was Turk Wharton. Underwhelming. They tried with other guys. We got Bobby Brown. Pretty solid pickup, prior year. But the point is that now you have an opportunity, because you have shown that this team is on the cusp of something. I know people like to think, oh man, we're so far away. Are you sure about that? Were we so far away when we were 7-8-1 and flipped that into a 15-1 year? Because we went to the playoffs that year. Remember that? We won a playoff game. We beat Arizona, beat them the next year too. Pummeled them, which I should say, right? We weren't that far away then. It didn't seem like it. Not much on the roster changed until, well, actually, that's not true. A lot on the roster changed. That is not true at all. I'm sorry. Because we bought in Peanut, we bought in Roman, we bought in Cortland Finnegan. There was a lot of change. That's part of my point, is that a 7-8-1 team could have said, you know what? We're not quite there yet, but we're almost there. Brad, they drafted Kelvin Benjamin, who had a 1,000-yard rookie season, right? But would you look at that receiving core and say to yourself that, hey, we're good here? Or would you think that there was a lot left to be desired coming from 14 to 15?
Oh man, how you say, constantly harp on that. I mean, I don't know. Rumors, reports, whatever, from behind closed doors said that Ricky Pro wanted Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs and ghetto shorts. Man wore shorts up to his nipples like a 1962 gym coach in elementary school. drafted Kelvin Benjamin and Devin Funchess. And I know maybe we wouldn't have been able to keep them for the long haul, but Devontae Adams led the league in touchdowns this year, and Stephon Diggs played in the Super Bowl last night. So it's always in my mind that we could have been better at receiver.
Agreed. So,
and who would have known better than a guy like Ricky Pro?
Yeah.
But, I digress.
Now, that being said, okay, would that still stop you from being aggressive because you don't have the offense that you need if there were defensive pieces out there for you? Because it didn't stop the Panthers in 14, right? Because I mentioned they went out and got a lot of different players that made a huge difference. Kurt Coleman, Peanut Tillman, Roman Harper, all these different guys that they brought in that made a humongous difference on this team, right? They didn't play soft when it came to who they went to procure. I think that you have the best opportunity you've had in 8 years to be able to go out and convince, because there's still it's still a negotiation. It ain't just money. It is not just money, right? If Milton had a chance to make a little bit better money, but Carolina was a team that was right on the brink, I think that you have more negotiating power than saying, hey, you want to come play for 5-win Carolina, who hadn't had a winning season in 8 years or 7 years? Or do you want to go play with New England, who has a history of winning 6 Super Bowls? And they just hired Mike Vrabel. Oh, that's easy. And they showing me more love, according to him. That's an easy choice.
A native son and a consistent owner.
Yeah, that's an easy choice.
I mean, we got to be honest. Tepper's fired, or Tepper's had 7 coaches in his short tenure, and that's got to play a part in guys' minds.
100%. But I'm going to tell you, I'm glad you said that. David Tepper, another guy that had a great media week. David Tepper came out, talked to Pat McAfee. Excellent interview, right? Giving his perspective on things that were important to him. Why did I throw a drink at a guy? Well, I had somebody injured and he pissed me off. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, he a rider. You know what I'm saying? But what you did by still keeping your guys around, season didn't end like you wanted it to. He was upset about the playoff game. We saw him walking out there. You know what I'm saying? After the game, there was a video of him walking out the stadium. Gave Pat McAfee a concert for the Carolinas, which was a benefit concert for my hometown area and other surrounding areas, not just my hometown area, of Asheville, North Carolina, and gave him a shirt, commemorating that. But Tep had a good week. So now that you have stability, you've kept Avero around, you didn't bounce him. These are things that your agents are also going to tell you, because trust me, it wasn't just Milton that made that decision. His agent probably said the same thing. That's the salesman. Hey, man, look at this deal over here. Look what New England, offering you, man. They really showing some love. And it's New England, man. You really want to go to Carolina? Man, you're right. And they in the bowl the same year. He go to back-to-back Super Bowls. You know what I'm saying? So now, coming off of what almost was, yeah, you might have backdoored your way into the, playoffs. But, hey, Trey, check it out. When's the last time you've been to the playoffs? 2 years ago? Didn't you lead the league in sacks in 2023 and 2024? Yeah, I did. What did you have to show for it? Not a goddamn thing. Well, what would you think about going down to Carolina and maybe that bumps them from 8 wins to 11? I could tell you somebody who had a benefit of doing something very, very similar. And this is what I'm talking about when I say that do not shortchange yourself. The Seattle Seahawks signed DeMarcus Lawrence to a 2-year, 3-year, $42 million deal, was it, Brad? My man said, I want to go somewhere where I can win a Super Bowl. This team didn't even make the playoffs last year. What are you talking about? But he saw it.
They laughed at him, too, in the media.
They sure did. All them boys eating crow. MIcah, all of them, right? It's not lost on me that that's what MIcah meant when he said, this ain't what the Super Bowl's supposed to look like. Like, bro, you talk too much. I love it. Don't get me wrong, because from a content perspective, I love it. But just on a, talk level, shut up. You won it. You know how old DeMarcus Lawrence is, Brad? 33. Do you know DeMarcus Lawrence also had an injury that sidelined him for dang near a whole season in 21? A foot injury. He just won a Super Bowl, Brad, on a team that wasn't even in the playoffs last year. Stop telling me that Trey Hendrickson I will say this. Here's where I'll shoot your bail. Does the money work? Because if the money don't work, then I understand it. They got a lot of moves that they got to make to free up some cap space. That's talked about a bit in this article. But aside from the money, of course I'm trying to go get Trey Hendrickson. Are you nuts? Who do you have on this team that can compete with him, even from a sack perspective? Now, here's where I get it. From a scheme perspective, it does make sense. He comes from a place where they do some things a little bit different. Here's the biggest difference. It's really only one thing. He doesn't really drop back into coverage. That's not his strong suit. Is that our biggest weakness, Brad? Or is pass rush? Is pressure? Which would you say is the biggest difference? The biggest issue?
Pressure.
Thank you. I don't care that he don't. Again, if you get to, and I know you might argue, well, man, why would you pay him that big of a contract just for him to come here and not utilize him to 100% of his strength? Because 50% of his strength might have just won you a playoff game. That's why. And it was worth every penny. It was worth every penny. That's why for me. So, yeah, he is going to be somebody. If I'm Dan, I'm making a call. Dog, you want to come play down here? Because we sure could use all them sacks. Boy, we sure could use it. We got another guy down here, Nick Scorton. We sure could use it. And here's the thing, for all you would-be, let's go do it in the draft guys. Ask Nick Benito how that worked out for him his rookie year. I talked about it earlier in the broadcast. Do you think you would have saw Nick Scorton as much if Pat Jones had not gotten hurt? No. Why? Because Avero, does not like to play rookies for whatever reason. It's the reason why at the end, I want you to think about this for a second. Who was not on the field defensively at the very last series? Princely Umamielen. They asked him about the last series, and he went completely left in the interview standing by his locker. He like, man, they don't really, we ain't really out there like that, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't really know. They like, bro, I ain't really asked you that. I'm talking about the last drive, like how you felt about the coverage. They looking at him like, oh, he giving it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I feel like I wasn't out there is what I feel like.
So you really trust him, bro, to like take the rookie? Brad, that really does scare me. What if we do get an Anthony Hill? What if we do a CJ Allen or Sonny or whoever it is, right? I think in that case, because of how good these guys are, you're probably not going to have a choice but to see the field. But I'm serious, man.
Yeah,
like this thing it's interesting, his history with rookies, man. So if that's the case, yes, I'm going to be big game hunting because he's your guy going into next year at defensive coordinator. If you like to play vets, then I'm going out to get the best vets I can possibly get. Hey, Devin Lloyd, want to come play in Carolina? Cool, come on. I want guys that scare you when they get on the field. That's Devin. I like the Leo Chenal guy. Don't get me wrong. I know I see that a lot, but man, Devin Lloyd, and I know it's scheme specific as far as his blitzes and stuff like that because this was his first year like really, really coming to life. But Zach Bond's first year coming to life was, last year, and he got a big bag, and he still played well. So it can happen, man. Like I said, I'm going big game hunting. I ain't saying you got to spend every dollar you got, but whatever dollars you do have, I'm going to make meaningful transactions. You got a grand opportunity in front of you. Like I said, 50% of Trey Hendrickson is better than 100% of DJ Wonnum. I hate to take shots, but it is what it is.
Well, and I feel like that's not the only option. I mean, of course, you don't want to give away any real serious, long-term draft capital. But, I mean, if you can get mid-round picks, a couple of those for a Max Crosby, you can go there. I mean, a lot of these teams, you got a lot of disgruntled employees, and they came out with an article last week about, new destinations for these guys. Crosby, there were games where he wasn't even in the building this year, and was fully healthy. I mean, we talked about Trey Hendrickson, and was he really injured or was he just done? You know what I mean? But you do have to do something for your pass rush. We've got to do something for the other safety position if we're not going to let Leth and Ransom play.
I like that idea too, man.
And
I
they gotta
really
do
like
something
that.
at
What I saw
linebacker.
from Witherspoon yesterday, Brad, I really, really love the idea of Latham taking that Nick Scott role. I do. Because here's the thing. If you want to argue that here's what you can't argue. You can't argue that Lathan Ransom is an expert at blitzing. We saw it a couple of different times, right? What you can argue is that he might be a liability in coverage. But here's what you also can't argue. That pressure changes all of that. There's not a quarterback in the NFC South that if you put pressure on, including our own, that won't. This ain't Stafford down here, man. You got a chance to win 6 consecutive games in this division based on the fact that if you can get to the quarterback, right? Which is why the dream of any defensive coordinator is to do what you saw last night with Seattle, last year with the Eagles, and a couple of years prior with Kansas City. If I can rush 4, oh my gosh. And I got people telling me like, man, you crazy about Trey Henderson. All right, cool. Run it back with DJ Wanham then. Bet. Let's do it. Bet.
Well, yeah, we were getting no pressure without an extra blitzer. You got to make some noise. And even if it is adding an additional person in the draft, you've got to put somebody out there that he's got to play.
Period. Trey 31, man. You don't need the 10-year bet with some of these guys. You remember the whole LA mantra, man, bump them picks? How long did that really hurt them, Brad? They won a Super Bowl in what, 2020? Excuse me, 2021. They won a Super Bowl in 2021, and they was a game away from going back in 2025, 26. 4 years. They was competitive last year and almost beat the Eagles. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the talking about a monster of a snow game, right? One of the best I've seen. It was so much fun to watch. But, yeah, man, like, swing for the fences. They go big game hunting. Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller. Like, we might not have Aaron Donald but 1 or 2 more years. He keeps threatening retirement. We got to go do this now. You might start having to think that same way with Derrick Brown. How long you got him? You don't know. This is a violent game, Brad. Man, I felt terrible. Like, I cannot stand the Patriots. But, boy, I love Drake May. And, man, I felt so bad for that kid last night. That is Carolina blood. You ain't going to hear me say no bad word about Drake May. Other than, 1, them boys was too young. It was a lot of inexperience. And 2, the left side of his offensive line should be put in jail. It was awful. And I mean, don't get me wrong. He missed some stuff too. Chris Collinsworth let us know about it. But, man, like, this is a violent game. Those kind of hits, they change people, man. Doing that, I mean, you basically, for 6 months out of your life a year, and not including training camp and OTAs, you were literally in a simulated car crash for 48 minutes a day on a Sunday. It takes a toll. So you don't have forever. These things come and go. Bryce, as we just saw, in that optic sitting next to Cam Newton, is one potential Calais Campbell hit away from being on IR for eternity. So sometimes you got to strike while the iron's hot. That's all I'm saying. Like, I get what people are saying about, but it's just, if you just keep on just kicking the can down the road, we'll go get this guy right here, or we'll trade picks for CJ Henderson, potential. Man, bump that potential, man. Go get somebody that's proven. Because it usually turns out to be a good result. Anyway, I appreciate y'all watching, man. 159 watching between 2 platforms, 51 likes. We appreciate you guys. Make sure to smash that like button. Thank you for joining me today on Mint Street Monday. I haven't had a chance to talk to you guys in the chat. Anthony Pick is right. You cannot be complacent. Bryce Young ain't Matt Stafford. I didn't say that, but I agree. He's not at all. Jay Issue said, great coaches study basic. Coaches go by what they like. Tyler said, Fox in 2015, we weren't number 1 in power rankings until week 14. That goes to your point, Brad. You kind of mentioned that very thing. Dr. Mike said, Charlotte is a city for a family man of a vet. It's not Vegas or LA. Charlotte is for families, not parties. Hey, man, J. Cole would like to say different. He had the city lit this weekend, but no, I know what you're saying. Anyway, we ain't got much. You want to comment on anything? We're going to close this thing out here in just a minute, Brad, because I got one last thing I want to go over, but I'd like to hear, any thoughts that you have on this free agent situation.
Yeah. I like what you said about being aggressive. But what is hilarious in making your point, do you realize that you said Bryce Young is one hit away from IR for eternity? Eternity. He's the first. Killing me, Small.
Bro, you look at that and tell me he ain't. Look at that.
Hey,
and
but you're wild,
Cam.
Man. You know what I'm saying?
That's Cam.
He a wild man. He like, I needed to fire me up, man.
He really is. That look, little buddy say, man, I'm talking about 4-1, 11 touchdowns to 1. It's a real thing. 6 hits. Look how he looking at Cam. Hit me now. Wow,
and one thing, a thing I give Bryce too is, man, Bryce, he doesn't take a lot of straight on, just knock your neck loose hits. You know what I'm saying? He don't be on that Wile E. Coyote shit like my man for the Commanders, Jaden. That brother be out there looking like he ran after the Roadrunner.
Bro, he is little, man. He is tiny. He is Gumby. Like, it is, bro is small, Brad. I'm telling you, these dudes, they built different, man, because that's, again, the NFL is controlled, violent chaos. And these guys, like, it's the same kind of screw. I know you wearing pads, I get it. But in an octagon, you're not running 100 miles an hour at somebody. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason that they have altered, changed kickoff rules, because we've seen guys like what's the kid from Rutgers, that was paralyzed. There was one dude that played for Buffalo one year that got paralyzed, because you got guys running 100 miles an hour that are in peak physical condition launching themselves at each other, a missile with Russell shoulder pads on. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is
LeGrand. That was Eric
LeGrand. Yes.
In
a wheelchair. On a kickoff return. The guy in Buffalo some years back. The kid from LSU. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the reason why they keep changing the rule, because we have to and I know some people are like, oh man, it's powder puff. Look, I done been caught up in that before too. But again, as I mentioned to you guys, the human element. This is not, 60 AD Rome watching people get, gladiators fighting each other to the death. This ain't that, right? We still want to see these brothers go home to their families. This is life-changing opportunities for them and people in their communities. But we do like to see people get, I ain't gonna lie, I like to see people get absolutely pummeled, especially the ops. Speaking of the ops.
Hey, and I'm one of them guys, man. I'm on the other end of that, man. I do want to see, you don't want to see anybody get hurt, but man, I miss Jacked Up. You know what I'm saying? I miss those segments. I miss the Steve Atwater, Ronnie Lott hits. And I'll be honest, man, like, you got your teachers and your accountants and people out here that don't get paid that kind of money because there's no risk. You're going to be the modern day gladiator. You're going to be them type of guys. Man, let them get hit. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
you got your rules to protect your quarterbacks. I get that. You know what I'm saying? Can't hit them low in the knees, in the pocket, and that kind of stuff. But a wide receiver going across the middle with nothing to fear anymore, it's not what it was.
The reason it's not what – did you see that video of there's a video floating around, a couple of videos of Chad, Ocho, and Debo facing off, right? And there was one where it was a live show. They faced off And then Debo walked off the stage, and then Debo came back on the stage with his shirt off. And Debo is in much better shape than he was even in playing shape. And I was like, man, I immediately, when I saw Debo with his shirt off like that, and, you know, he got that Cro-Magnum head, man, and, you know, that whole thing, like, my immediate thought was like, what hospital is Muhammad Massaquoi still in at this point? You know what I'm saying? Like, it immediately made me understand why AB out here wilding. You know what I'm saying? Because before it started getting controlled, man, this dude was a killer. Him and Ryan Clark it was unfair to play the Steelers. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why Ryan told Derrick Henry and meant it when he looked at him. And I'm going to tell you something. He was right. Derrick Henry is a big human being. Ryan Clark said, if I meet you in the A gap, you are dead. And I believe him because it's
about how high he run,
yeah. Yes, sir. Period.
That's what I'm saying, man. Hey, like, I don't institute the word for the other word, but it's like, hey, Ray Lewis used to say in the huddle, they say, tell him, hey, we need to get out here and knock some naysayers' neck loose. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And,
period.
And I mean, but that's part of the football, though. I mean, our game, when, you know, you just keep seeing these crossing patterns to Puka over and over. I mean, that kind of stuff, you know, Shannon Sharp, and they're like, hey, man, I'm fine with you hitting me as long as you're not hitting my knees. I'd much rather you hit me up top and blow the play up than hit me below the knees or in the knee and tear ACLs. And you've seen more of that since they've instituted these rules. But, man, you're going to tell me guy like, what's the kid that's eating all the candy? DK Metcalf. You're going to tell me that DK Metcalf at 6'4", 235 coming across the middle is a defenseless receiver ever? Man, cut it out.
I understand that. I'll say this. When you can't see it, yeah. Because we got a guy on our team. If you're going to see this next year, let them make a decision. I'll say this. I don't know what their plan is at safety, but I love what I saw from Witherspoon last night. And if you're getting pressure, you telling me that they can't do with Lathan Ransom what they were doing with Witherspoon last night, bringing up to the line and, you know, all that. I think you can. And he is one of them. That kid is nuts, bro. And I don't care how big you are. You could be DK, you could be AK, you could be whoever. You come across the middle against a guy like Lathan, you going to the hospital. Like, because he throwed off, bro. Like, and so yeah, it's different. It's different with him. So
yeah, and you know, on the what if scale, I think if you throw him an interception in the back of the end zone, he's not going to keep it up there and let the receiver come and knock it out.
Period.
Man, I hope we move on from Nick Scott.
Little Nick Scott. All right. So this was a good one, man. We did it. This was a great show. I do have one more thing I want to talk about real quick. So I'll go, you know, a little solo camera for a minute. I'm gonna get a little bit more serious right now because, you know, every now and again I do like to get involved with some conversations. I typically on my platform, I like to usually stay away from any kind of social topic. And here's the reason why. It's not as if I'm not plugged in to what's happening socially. It's more rooted in, I feel like sports can be the great escape, right? You come to channels like mine, you got 100 channels talking about everything related to politics and, you know, faith and all this other kind of stuff that's going on. But every now and again, that bleeds into sports. Actually, a lot now. It seems like everything in life in America these days is, you know, or not just America, just around the world, is extremely polarized, extremely tribalistic, extremely political, you know, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I try to do my best job to stay away from it because as a believer, I do believe in the Imago Dei. I do believe in, you know, the Romans 12, for as much as you can, living peaceably amongst one another. You know what I'm saying? So And I know sometimes standing away from those kind of things isn't necessarily what we're called to do. We are called to speak up for those who don't really have a voice, or to, stand up as an advocate, for others or whatever like that. So I'll talk about my thoughts on the halftime. Like, so I understand what people, if you believe like I believe, right? First off, I want to say this. The theatrics were off the chain, right? The dancing, a little bit risque and all that kind of stuff. Maybe a lot of bit risque for some of us. Not necessarily something I would want my children, engaging in and watching or whatever. But there's much bigger than just that part of the conversation. I thought the flip, and I tweeted this, the Lady Gaga coming out and doing that, the song she has with Bruno, I thought that flip was unbelievable. My wife absolutely loves to salsa dance, right? So she's hearing that in the background and she's like, oh man. So she come flying out the room and she start, doing her little dance because she really, really loves to do that, right? Not being able to follow the words was a little tough. I'll be honest with you. I'm not really that familiar with Bad Bunny. But I thought it was fly. All the stuff that I was told that he was, that people were afraid that he would do. Anti-American stuff, dressing up in a dress, all this other stuff, these things that I don't know if he's done this stuff, because again, I don't follow this guy like that, so I wouldn't know. But none of that stuff was a thing. Not a single thing of it, right? Let me tell you what he did show, though. Family. Showed up a couple, a hetero couple, getting married. Love. He brought a bodega, to the Super Bowl stage. Showed you basically showing you his culture, right? Now, if you want to argue the whole power line thing and the grids and all that other kind of stuff, you could argue that. Cool. But again, none of it was the fear-mongering stuff that we heard, right? So naturally, there was an alternative to this. And y'all know what that is, so I ain't got to say nothing about that. And whether or not you chose to watch that and you support that is on you, right? My thing is like, I don't care either way, because I don't get in them people business like that. Here's what I will say, though. When it comes to the believer's business, this was something that, and y'all know, man, I profess my faith openly on this show, so I feel obligated to talk about this from my perspective on this show. If it upsets some of you, I totally understand that. I'm not here for everybody to agree with my takes. I feel like if you do that, you're being disingenuous, right? So I'll just speak my heart. I didn't care as much about what was on the other side and what they decided to do as much as I did about the fact that there were Christian broadcast companies that were broadcasting the other show. As if to say, if you agree with us on this political spectrum as a believer, that's okay. So we'll broadcast that because this is faith and family, right? As opposed to Bad Bunny, oh, he getting ready to come out here and do all this, and this. And none of it happened. Not a single thing happened, right? The question you have to ask yourself is, where does this stem from? It stems from the top. It stems from leadership. Because we've seen leadership do some insane things this past week. And this is par for the course, it seems like. But I want to read something from Jeremiah 23. It says, woe to the shepherds who are destroying and scattering the sheep of my pasture, declares the Lord. Therefore, this is what the Lord of God of Israel says. To the shepherds who tend to my people, because you have scattered my flock and drove them away and have not bestowed care on them, I will bestow punishment on you for the evil you have done. Let me tell you something. Here's what you can rest in. There's one or two situations that are going to handle any injustice that anybody does to you, right? It's either going to be through the cross, which is what we would hope, through salvation, through forgiveness, through repentance, or it's going to be through his wrath and judgment. One or the other, right? Proverbs 19 says, whoever would foster love covers an offense, but whoever repeats the matter separates close friends. I was absolutely perturbed seeing places like TBN and all these other places that are Christian broadcast networks showing this version of things and almost condemning this version of things, right? It's hypocrisy of the highest order, because some of the lyrics in the song of the person who performed first are even worse than the stuff that you heard over here, because you couldn't even really understand what you heard over here if you don't speak Spanish. I'm just being real, right? My man looked into the camera and was like, hey, I believed in myself. You can do anything you want to do. Believe in yourself and you can be whatever you want to be. All that fear-mongering stuff out the window. Voila, surprise. So this isn't for me to try to say like, hey, you should believe on this side or not believe on this side. All I'm saying is that the cross is the great equalizer. Christ is the great equalizer. I'm always going to believe that. I'm going to stand on that, right? And there's no one who loves more than the one who laid down his life for everyone. So do better. Do better, man. And it starts at the top. Do better, bro. You know what I'm saying? Do better. Repent. Get that hate out your heart, man. Stop sharing photos and, people depicted as, stuff that is terrible, trying to play it off like you ain't know. You knew. Do better. That's all I got. Brad, you want to finish us off?
Xavier Legette is scheduled, supposedly, confirmed by Ocho Cinco, that he's going to work with him this summer. That's a, hope that we've all thought would come to fruition since he was like, hey, come, man, work out with me. And the Falcons got some serious stuff to deal with, brother. James Pierce, that they gave up the first round pick for last year, has a very, very alarming set of circumstances that led to his arrest. And I'll let people check on that. But wow. And then finally, I'm with you, man. Like I said, it's the fact of what people know is right or what they've been taught is right. And then just to see the divisiveness that has come out of this, last year and a half, 2 years over just different things. And it ended up being like a Super Bowl thing. I mean, you got like Puerto Rico as a U.S. territory. To have another show saying All-American is in itself, preying on a weak-minded person to feel like, hey, I'm going to go to the All-American show because Bad Bunny's at the Super Bowl. And it's like, you realize Puerto Rico's an American territory. So again, 80% of the population has an 80 or lower IQ score. So,
I heard something, Brad. I'll tell you, this was a extremely patriotic gesture if there ever was one. Many people say that the Whitney Houston national anthem is the best national anthem ever, right? Now, I would argue that a close second would be Stapleton's from a couple of years ago, which was unfreaking believable. But that national anthem became a rallying cry during the 9/11 terror attacks. And Whitney Houston allowed that song, that version of it to be recorded. And I think she may have even re-recorded it. And it was sold. And she gave every red cent to the families and people affected by 9/11. She did not take a penny from it. And it sold like hotcakes, right? That is extremely patriotic. So the divisiveness that happens as a result of, a construct of things that just keep coming. These are people that one specific group may look at and say, well, we don't look at that as an American, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, or this is the problem with our country or whatever. It's like, okay, cool. We just keep doing what we do. Just keep trucking along. Keep praying for you. And, like I said, the great equalizer, man, the most beautiful thing that you can do is rest in Christ, man, because if I didn't have that, I'd probably crash out. I ain't gonna lie. Because I just know too many people that I love, that I see saying and doing things that I can't believe, that people I used to, walk with. The Bible says, how can two, you and I talked about this, Brad, how can two walk together unless they agree? You know what I'm saying? Unless they agree on a matter. And just seeing people I love and some of the things that they do on both sides, I'd be wanting to crash out sometime, man. But, thanks be to God that, the Holy Spirit provides a calm that I can't explain. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I got, man. Yeah, James Pierce Jr. I ain't gonna, I'm gonna start making a change on this channel because I don't want to dunk on people, especially somebody that I was. If you watch my channel enough, he's another guy. Nick Emenworry, James Pierce Jr. was another guy that I was real high on, man. And boy, did he have a rookie season. Didn't do it against us, which I love, but he had a great rookie season and may have thrown his career away because this ain't going away. I know they let him out of jail, which I think is crazy, considering that he was, I don't know if you've read any of what happened, but I ain't gonna talk about that because we don't get in their business like that. But it's bad. It's bad, man. Prayers to his family, prayers to people involved, and prayers to James, man. I was hearing these things, and one of the things that I argued, me and Jared Feinberg had a mock draft last year, and when we talked about James, I said one of the things I'm concerned with when you talk about, Brad, there was literally nobody. I can't remember the last time that I seen a prospect that was talked about so poorly as James. And James was a guy that you and I talked about at one point could have possibly went number 1 overall coming into the season. But there were questions about what, his usage. Josh Heupel would, basically bench him. And some of that was coming out that he was, they'd be down there working out. James be up in the dorm room. You know what I'm saying? Physical freak. So he can, a lot of that is overcome by just, absolute, God-given talent. But man, when every single scout is on your top, like, hey, nah, I would not. Some of them like, man, I wouldn't even draft this dude. That's how bad it is. I'm like, dang. And so to me, even though I was a big, big advocate for us taking a guy like James, I also was very terrified of like, do you really want to bring him back to Charlotte? Because if he got problems like this, you don't want to bring him back home. And not necessarily for what he might do, but for what people who might look at him as food might do. Because the last place you want to be if you somebody like that is the crib. You don't want to be home. So, yeah. Prayers up to everybody, man. Prayers up to everybody involved. Anyway, it's been another great one. Brad, what you got planned for the rest of the day? What we doing? Where we going?
I'm going to been hitting the gym pretty hard. I'm going to get a massage. Then I'm going to pick up the watch I bought for my mother for Christmas. I got some extra links put on it because they sent it for a small child's arm, apparently. Good food, good times, good people.
Yes, indeed.
And I'm getting this book, man. You can check out this book I picked up called Kings and Pawns, Jackie Robinson and Paul Robeson in America.
Ah, okay.
Real good read.
I might have to do that. Brother. Send that to me. Text it to me. So, man, it's been another great one, y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe button, and bell notification so you never miss a video. My name is Jon. This is Brad from the One Carolina Show and Mint Street Mondays. Hey, keep out.